Welcome YouTube, welcome Twitch, welcome Mixer. I'm Saz Ketchup, and today we're looking at DCS World again. It was just updated the other day, though I don't see much of an impact in performance there, but I've been trying to do things to get that magical 90 FPS that we kind of need. And I've been going about this in some various ways. Hello. I know you can't hear the speech. It will say it in a little bit. So don't worry, Sage Cedar. You will get your hello. Just a little bit delayed. Right. So, if you haven't been here before and you like what I'm doing, then on YouTube there is a subscribe button. You can press the notification bell to get notified when I'm doing streams. You know, all of that type of stuff. On Twitch, you can follow, and the same type of thing on Mixer. If you're typing in the chat, at some point you'll hear a voice bot, which will randomly allocate you a voice bot. And I'm going to kind of get on to what we're doing today, and it's basically DCS World Flight Simulator. It's awesome. It looks amazing, it's highly demanding, it's amazing to play, but it's really, really kind of system-killing type of thing. And I've been trying to work out how I can get 90 FPS for the majority of things. And I'm going to go over a couple of things because I've had to go to some extreme measures. And you're going to see what the effects of this is going to happen. But before that, we shall commence with the speech bot.
Sage Cedar says H. Sage Cedar says E. Sage Cedar says L. Sage Cedar says L. Sage Cedar says I. Sage Cedar says asterisko. Sage Cedar says hashtag notification gang. Sage Cedar says,
and that's
yes.
What Sage Cedar said. So yeah, there you go. Very good. Right, let's move on, shall we? Right. So I've done a few things, and number one thing that I've done here is obviously lower some of the pixel density down, so I will go through and I'll show you exactly what I've got in game. A couple of things to look out for is in the graphs that are up there. So you've got all the graphs of what my GPU is doing for its speed, its core temperatures, the percentages that it's running on, my CPU temperature, and the speed that's running at, what turbo that's running up to. You can also see those graphs to the left there, and that has each of the cores on my CPU. And I want you to pay attention to the bottom right one, because that's the main one that DCS World as a game is running on. And I've actually, what I've done is I've actually gone into my task manager and gone onto the details tab and set as many things as I can so they don't use that processor. That's the length I'm going to here, because it's highly dependent on one core, and you're going to see that as a whole my overall processor, my CPU, is not going to get to that high point. The GPU is going to get pushed, but the CPU is not actually going to get pushed to that high point. Only that one core, that last final core, is going to get pushed. And I'm going to go over a couple of settings that I've changed as well, and what I've noticed gives puts the most wear so far, and hopefully I'm going to be able to stream and still maintain 90 FPS. So we're going to get into that a bit more. Right, let's I need to press that. There's the music. Right, so here we go. Settings. First things first, for VR, I'm only running a pixel density of 1.3. I found that's the highest I can push this to and maintain that 90 FPS. A couple of other things in here for the system settings, so you can have a quick look over those. Textures and train textures are set to high. I didn't find that they actually set much of a problem. I have put some civilian traffic here on low. I've kept water at low. I don't know what that does. The one that makes a big difference is visible range. I've set that to medium. If I need to, I can set it lower and try and maintain a higher FPS and things like that. Heat blur, I haven't noticed anything with it. Shadows, I've got on low. You could probably go flat. If you push that up higher, it's going to be more of a problem. The other thing I've got here, because I've only got 1.3 for the display setting, the pixel density, I have actually set the MSAA to ×2, and I haven't noticed that making a difference. I do have this word that is filtering set to 2. I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes. Didn't make much. Terrain object shadows, I've got flat. The cockpit global illumination I do have turned on. I didn't notice a big difference on the CPU side there. It's more GPU side. I have got rain droplets turned on, which I haven't really seen. And that's about it. Everything else is basically set on lows and standard sort of thing. The resolution in the cockpit displays I've got at 1024. This is important. You do want that to be reasonable, otherwise you're going to have a hard time reading your instrumentation, and you need to read your instrumentation. So that's there. Okay, good. Right. Now, I have been using one mission to kind of work as a benchmark. It's not the best because it doesn't have everything, but it allows me to go from different things. So I've basically gone in on this mission here, which is a start from fresh on the ground. We're going to go in there and we're going to see what happens. And while I'm at it, I should get myself some tech stuff, so if you guys say anything and I can't understand over the bot, that I can see it. So I'm just going to grab a window a second, so give me a moment while I grab a window. And I want to do that so I can see things, and that's good. Yes, that's good. Right, I should be good to go, and hopefully this will all work well. Right. So, we're here in an F-16. We are in Dubai. And, oh, right. I think the overhead is probably killing me a bit. But we'll see here when I take off. I noticed before when I was here that occasionally it would do this, where it's gone down a bit. So, streaming has maybe pushed a little bit extra load on here. We'll see. Right, first things first, we need to turn on some batteries. Why isn't that working? It's annoying when things don't work. Okay. Why are these not working? I've got things that are not working. Excuse me. We shall have to try and fix that. Default. The default. F15C and an F15C, and let's see if that will fix that. No! Fail! This is going to be rather short if I can't take off. That's going to be very, very disappointing. So I've got this bit working, but everything else is suddenly not working. I can't get the batteries in the plane to turn on. Ah, great! How are we going to do this?
Stormy Daniels says, the eyes are back.
Hey Stormy, how are you?
Stormy Daniels says, yes, I love it in the cockpit looking at the big clocks.
Oh, yes, there are plenty of dials and things that are like, wow, but I need to get them working. And for whatever reason, it's decided that it doesn't want to work for me. So I'm just trying to fix that. That's there.
Stormy Daniels says, love big clocks better than a small ticker.
Yeah, there's always something to be said for a good size clock, especially when you need to tell the time. That's the one I was looking for. Where did that come from? I don't know. Right, so hopefully now this will work. I hope. We're gone. Just done. Right. No. Let's try this again.
Stormy Daniels says, small hands can make a clock appear bigger.
Oh, God, they're coming thick and fast, aren't they? Right, let's see. No, it's a failure. I've got some failing things. Right, I'm gonna have to restart some stuff. Rather unfortunate. Okay, so, first things first. I need to get out of this particular pit and quit to the desktop. Yes. I don't like doing that while on the stream, but I had to. Right. It didn't want to take my commands, Stormy. It wasn't listening. It wasn't doing what it's supposed to. Okay. Right. So,
Stormy Daniels says, hot, hot, hot.
very,
today."
very, very hot. I couldn't agree more. Right, this takes a bit of time to restart, and hopefully it'll restart and come up and be all singing, dancing, and fantastic, but in a plane flying type of way. Here we go.
Stormy Daniels says, humid, I like a bit of air.
That's why I have a fan. Okay, we have music. We have a cursor. We'll try a mission. Oh. We'll try F15C. Let's see. Yes, that works. So that's good. I should be able to turn my motors. I should be able to get my motors running now.
Stormy Daniels says, so do I, fan twins, but you really have two fans as I am a fan.
Ah, thank you, Stormy. Don't know if that's to cool off or not. But we're about to get some jets rather hot. Right, so, okay, here we go. We also want to be able to see the FPS. You guys want to be able to see that, so we'll just, ba-dum, through the magic of things, ta-da! And you can see that some of these is falling up and down a little bit, but we'll try and get there. So, now we can power on this bad boy.
Stormy Daniels says, just to blow you. Stormy Daniels says, blow on you, I mean.
To call me off.
Stormy Daniels says, oh no, sorry.
Very bad. Right, let's see. Oh. Wow. Okay, so. There's lights. Let's get one of these engines going. Get the right one going first. We should see the little needles here that was going to start to move. Yep. See? The dials are doing what they do.
Stormy Daniels says, temperature has gone to my noggin.
You're on fine fettered form. Right, let's put this canopy down. We want some air conditioning. Actually, I want to hear the engine spool up because they've got a nice spool up sound. Left engine. Come on, RPM. There we go. It's gotten started. Temperature's rising. See that temperature gauge there? 200 degrees. 300. 400. 500. I don't know if it's degrees or Fahrenheit. It's an American plane. It's probably Fahrenheit. Okay. Right. We want the canopy down. We've got our engines on. We want to pull this canopy down here. So, graphically, it's still looking pretty good. I can see quite far into the distance. You can see just how far when we take off. Let's not waste too much time in getting us moving. By the way, we're not going to runway 13L, we're going to runway 31R, because runway 13L is way over that way and it's just too far away to go. So we're just going to go to the closest runway. Get your motors running. And you can see now we've got 90 FPS. So it very much depends on where you're looking. I look at architecture. Some architecture, it's going to drop me down. Other, it's going to be fine. It's also about that load distance. I do actually have a preload radius set to kind of high, because we like to see things, don't we, Stormy? But we're going to try out a couple of other things as well today, and not just fly around. But we are going to fly around a bit. So basically, my method of testing here was to set the lowest possible base I could, and then start adding things in.
Stormy Daniels says, "Love to see things rise."
Which is an odd coincidence, because obviously in DCS World, if you've got the with our options, to show you this here, the system options, if you have the visible range set to, say, extreme, then it kind of controls where all the buildings and everything pops in. And they don't pop in DCS World. Everything sort of grows from the ground, so everything just sort of like gradually grows. So as you come closer to it, the bigger buildings, the biggest buildings, and appear first, then the smaller buildings all appear after it, and then the smallest objects there, followed by things like trees and grass. So it all sort of like goes, the big objects grow first, the little ones after, and I'm going to try and show you some of that as we fly down here. And hopefully you'll be able to see things magically appearing from the terrain, but not too much. They don't pop out. They don't do the old school pop in where they just go, but they just sort of like gradually ease in. So you have more details to make it look like those further distances do look good, and it maintains something there. When you're concentrating on, say, a battle or something else like that, it may not be so noticeable. So that's a part of the other side of the mix that we're looking at for what some people find acceptable versus unacceptable here. Right, let's go. What is acceptable is the detail in this cockpit. What? I'm going off to the side a bit. No, come. No, get that controllable. Get that controllable. We can't be taking off like that. It's a good job it's a long runway. Okay, there we go. Not exactly what you'd call an ideal takeoff. I know one thing that I've forgotten. Flaps. That was not helpful.
Stormy Daniels says, "Grip it tight." Stormy Daniels says, "Don't let it wriggle away."
You're being far too naughty today, aren't you?
Stormy Daniels says, "Flip, flop and fly." Stormy Daniels says, "Are the flaps open?"
The flaps weren't down. They should have been. But now we're above 200 knots. They are up. Okay, so a little bit of something to watch here. So we've got the Formula 1 circuit over there to the forwards left of us. And you can see the FPS there is kind of jumping and jittering around the 90 for the most part. 90 and high 80s, so it's kind of doing okay as we come over here. And it's pretty much now stable. But it depends on how much we're looking off to somewhere and how much architecture there is. So me flying low like this, I can see the whole of the F1 track there.
Says, I'm waving. See me in my house.
Can I see your house from here, Stormy? Did you have a house out by the F1 track? Very nice, I have to say, because I mean it's got nice beaches and everything else like that around here. But what we are going to do is we're going to get a bit of height. So basically I would typically come up around this way. We're going to get a bit of height and we're going to get a bit of speed. And we're going to come along by the palm trees. And we're going to take a quick flight over the city.
Daniels says, yes, it's shaped like a part on a man's body.
Okay. You're being very, very naughty today. You've been watching a load of Carry On films, aren't you? So, there you go anyway. We've got 90 FPS. It's looking pretty good around here. I mean, that's a nice sight to see. And it's still 90 FPS. So, it very much depends on what texture you're looking at. I've got some pretty good details here. But what's going to happen, we can see the palm tree off there in the distance. The first of two. You can see a lot there, and we can still see that I've got 90 FPS. So that's it kind of running generally at 90. And it's not bad at all. We can also turn some other stuff. If I introduce something else here, like mirrors, at this particular place, the mirrors aren't going to make a difference. If I was sitting on the tarmac back there, where it's kind of like nervous about going where it'd go with the FPS, then it would definitely have gone to 45. But there you go. We're going to put those mirrors back up. And we're just going to head down there.
Stormy Daniels says, I know that I am in the danger
Yep,
zone.
yep, very much so. Flying right into it. So I'm going to come down here, and there is basically some docks that are down here by the first palm tree, and there's some definite city. You can see how the city's there, and how all the taller buildings off in the distance are now already there. So I can see parts of the taller buildings on the second palm tree as they're all filtering in. The details of all the buildings here are starting to filter in. Got quite a heavy load up here, so we do fly kind of slow. Right, let's thing here. So these docks are full of a load of little containers. So we can see the buildings, the factories, we can see the docking cranes and all of that along the docks. What we can't see yet is there it is. Here we go. Here's all the containers growing in.
Heavy load, you say?
So you can see how much detail this game goes to. So all of those have now loaded in. And you can see where, here you go, some trees just loading in. They're just sort of like growing from the ground and then disappearing. We'll follow the train in a bit. You can see we've got some civilian traffic, not a lot, just a very low amount of civilian traffic here. And most of the city on this medium part is mostly loaded in now, so I've got a reasonable landscape to go through. But you can see that FPS has fallen to a more solid 45, so we are using the asynchronous space warp for definite now. There's no ifs and buts about it, we are definitely using that now. But I gotta say, it does look gorgeous. Yes, I did say a heavy load. We have some heavy loads. So, as you can see, down here with all of this geometry, and there is a lot of geometry, it really does put a bit of a squash on the FPS. If I come out here to see, bam, straight away, because I'm not looking at the buildings, 90. So it's all to do with what's in view, the rasterizer, and what's being called on by the CPU. And you can see obviously in the graphs up there that that bottom right core is filled right the way to the top for a lot of this. So that processor, that one processing core, is really having to work for it. Let's have a bit of fun with this. And here we go, we are back down into, we've still got some 90s going on here, but as we come along into towards the city, it's going to drop to 45 again any moment now. There we go. Here's 45, and you can see those buildings just growing up out of nothing. This is basically the sort of standard route that I was taking to try and test the FPS out. Now, because we're above the city, and we're starting to get some decent amount of speed up, what we're going to do is take a nice bit of extra speed here and just climb nice and fast above the city where we've got this 90 FPS. It's a spectacular view.
Stormy Daniels says, thanks for flying with Salsa Airways.
We do show some really good views on Salsa Airways, it has to be said. I mean, it looks spectacular. There is a huge amount of detail here going all the way off into the distance, but that really does hurt the FPS a little bit. I mean, just as soon as I look towards here, we've still got 90, which is really good, but as soon as I go down lower, we're going to start to see all the buildings creep back in, and it's going to go more again. But that's on this Dubai map, which I do have to say does look spectacular. When you're going to be flying this, unless you're doing ground missions, you're normally going to want to be up higher. So if you're doing like air-to-air combat, you're typically going to want to fly up higher, because height normally gives you that advantage, and most of your air battles will be up nice and high, so you can keep that 90 FPS depending on the maps. So here I am already just 11,000, 12,000. Let's pull that trim off a bit. Head back round. So we're 12,000 foot high. Look towards the city here, and basically I've got a reasonably
says, do
thing
you
there.
find this game relaxing?
Somewhat, and somewhat exciting, because as a game, I mean, at the moment I'm taking much of a pleasure cruise. This is, this isn't the exciting bit, but you have some amazing views, and you're in a fighter jet, and at any moment you can literally, slam on the brakes, and just sort of roll it over. But you could roll it over if you didn't mess it up. Wow, there we go. And make crazy things happen like this. So stall it out, do whatever. Let's get some speed. We can put on a little air show for the city. That was me almost blacked out. On the downward leg, flip it over, come through, down, 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 down on the downward leg. We're about to go to the next part of the Cuban 8. So we're going to be pulling up there. Then we're going to transition back round to upright. Nice smooth roll. And that's going to complete our Cuban 8. And I'm sure the people in the city enjoyed that.
Stormy Daniels says, watch out for
The Megalodon? Oh no! Right. Okay, so there is 90 FPS. But as you can see, we do have some issues. As soon as you get in near to more civilian traffic, and I mean, I'm not on a slouchy machine here. This is by no means a slouch of a system. We've got an i7 9700K in here, 32 gig of DDR4, 3200 megahertz RAM, and we have an RTX 2080 Ti. But we are able to hold a steady 45 even with so much of this city viewable, which is pretty cool. Right, that's enough of messing about in this. Let's show something somewhere else. Quit. Should we turn up the heat a little bit more? Right. As if it's not hot enough in here already. So that's that mission. Now we're going to just use some instant action to get us into some trouble, because I don't know how to use the radars properly. I haven't gone all the way through combat properly.
Sage Cedar says H. Sage Cedar says E. Sage Cedar says L. Stormy Daniels says, why don't you play Sam Fox Strip Poker on the Commodore 64? Sage Cedar says L. Sage Cedar says
because obviously on the Commodore 64, I had a Spectrum, not a Commodore 64. So how could I? Unless I went around a friend's house. Right, we're going to change the location. So we've got the Caucasus, and we are going to do this bomber intercept, which I can't do because I'm no good with the controls at beyond visual range.
says Ed Stormy Daniels, why you resigned my ritual, how could you? I will find you and I will threaten you. JKLM.
No.
Stormy Daniels says emulate.
No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No threatenings. Nobody threatens nobody. Right, so this is going to be a little bit there.
Sage Cedar says asterisk rewind asterisk.
You've got two of those, dude, in the one stream. It was kind of funny, though. Right, so here you can see the Caucasus have a lot more detail at different points.
Stormy Daniels says make love not war.
Said while I am in a warplane. Oh, the irony. And I'm probably going to die spectacularly very soon, so check that out. Right, I don't know enough about the radar systems to get this working right. I've still got more learning to do about radar systems. But over these Caucasus, which do look impressive, the trees and shadows and things like that means that quite often we end up with 45 FPS, which is not great. Let's turn the radar systems on at least. Scanning there. Need some weapon systems. There's a weapon system on.
Sage Cedar says I will beat you with a Dutch clog and a buttery croissant.
Oh dear. Careful, she might eat those. What did the croissant ever do to you? Right. Here's a part of...
Sage Cedar says say that to the Americans in napalm.
We've got an alarm. Right, we should see some enemy planes any second now. We've still got 45, so over this, we're just saying, oh, there was a dip. That's some missiles. I haven't got flares and chaff that are...
Stormy Daniels says I want a pink plane.
Left engine.
My left engine's on fire.
Right engine fire. Radar failure.
We're in trouble.
Failure.
I
ECM
want a pink
failure.
Panzer.
ACS failure.
Look at my poor plane. We're in trouble.
Right engine.
We're on fire. Look at that.
MLWS failure. ECM failure.
I do love how this looks.
Sage Cedar says asterisk tank. Sage Cedar says make war not love.
Well, there's a battlefield going on here. And I died.
Sage Cedar says, lovely Scandinavia.
It just amazes me when you see this. But as you can see, 45 FPS again, and that's really to do with this map.
Stormy Daniels says, I like Canada.
You like Canada? I like Canada as well. I've got some great family in Canada.
Stormy Daniels says, maple syrup, yum. Sage Cedar says, and do you like syrup?
Who doesn't like maple syrup?
Sage Cedar says, obese nose.
Right.
Sage Cedar says, no one likes Canada.
Of course people like Canada. Don't say such things. Who wouldn't like Canada? It's a beautiful country. This is the actual designated targets there. Check the detail in this out.
Sage Cedar says, only the French like Canada, and I must say they had a great war effort in WW2. Stormy Daniels says, I didn't know that having maple syrup makes you instantly obese. Funny thing to presume.
Okay. It's going weird places. Am I going to have to turn off bots in future again?
Sage Cedar says, Germans, knock knock French, I surrender.
No, we're not going down this route. Oh dear, dear, dear. No. Right.
Stormy Daniels says, WTF. Sage Cedar says, according to a recent survey, yes, 99.99999999999999999% positive results. Stormy Daniels says, no religion, no politics.
Those are definitely the good ways to go. Right. We saw me die rather quickly there. So in a theatre of war, don't trust me with this plane yet because I don't know enough. But that's one example of where I can't actually hold 90 FPS. So it is highly dependent on the maps and the situations.
Sage Cedar says, we had an bar shouting contest.
Yeah.
Sage Cedar says, let's say the teachers didn't approve.
No approval on that. Right. So, it very much does depend on what we're doing here, but that was one instant action. Now let's try this with Nevada.
Sage Cedar says,
And Jeremy C. Asterisk Kunt for Prime Minister, I mean Hunt.
Oh no. We said no politics. Am I going to have to put you on a silence?
Sage Cedar says,
Oh,
Sage Cedar says,
I accidentally added a U.
Sage Cedar says,
Whoops.
I may have to be putting you on a silence.
Stormy Daniels says,
No religion, no politics rules
Yeah.
of the stream.
I may have to put you on a silence. I've got the glove out. The glove is out.
Sage Cedar says,
Whooped.
Sage Cedar says,
Mm-hmm.
Sage Cedar says,
Alf.
Sage Cedar says,
The glove.
It is the glove.
Sage Cedar says,
Am I getting a spanking?
Mm-hmm.
Stormy Daniels says,
You heard from
I haven't
Adnan.
heard from Adman, I'm sad to say. Done a bit of a disappearing act in that, but if he's got different things going on in his life.
Sage Cedar says,
Adman.
Sage Cedar says,
Are we in Saudi Arabia?
No, he was in Dubai, but we're not. There.
Stormy Daniels says,
Hope he is okay.
Yeah, we haven't heard much. He basically has disappeared from YouTube. I think he's gone more Twitch.
Sage Cedar says,
How is Adnan?
I think he's gone more to Twitch, but I haven't really seen much, I'm afraid. Why is that not working?
Sage Cedar says,
They literally border each other.
Yes, they do. Okay.
Sage Cedar says,
Who?
Right.
Sage Cedar says,
Have you heard why Saudi Arabia doing to Gade?
The voice chat is now unenabled. And when it comes back, I don't know. No politics. This is why people can't have good things. Right. Sorry, Sage Cedar, you are on a bit of a timeout for being too naughty. I know that's 300 seconds, that's not long, but okay. Right, maybe we can get back to somewhat on track. His kid, you know, sometimes these happen. Most of the time he's alright, but there are times when that's just not good. I don't like to throw out bans, just put a little bit of a calm down notice. Right, we're going to continue on here because I want to show that you can get some 90s FPSs in here. But it is difficult. And a lot of it is processor based. And I can do some things in here that don't require the radar. Like if we were to do Nirvana, I think this one. Nevada, even. Thank you, Stormy. It has some crazy times sometimes. So, here we go. Ooh, the loading screen on here is awful to suffer through in VR, it has to be said. It's very, very, very distracting. There's one thing to be said about why... I know there's different conversations I've had in the past about why Sony is so particular about maintaining FPS to certain levels, even in their loading screens for PSVR. Sony has a rule that you can't go lower than 60 FPS, and that includes for any loading screens. So thank you, Stormy. Right, so we're going to fly in here. We've got two Aggressor F5s, and this is to practice our air combat maneuvering and our gun skills. And using my wingman. I'm not really going to use my wingman. I haven't got all the comms set up, which is what I really do need to learn, stuff like that. So, one step at a time. First step, we're going to try and actually just get some maneuvering down, and hopefully this FPS, which is stuck at 90 here over Nevada, is going to hold. Okay, so we are being tracked.
50 miles off your nose are two aggressor F5s over the Eglin range. Practice your air combat maneuvering gun skills and using your wingman. Good luck.
So we got our weapons there, radar is up, and we can see we've got a reticle there, or we did have. Right. Need to dive because we've stalling the airframe. They're coming around, one's going up high. We're going to switch out to try and come up high as they come over the top. Come on. Bring it round, bring it round, bring it round. Come on, pick up speed, pick up speed, pick up speed. We're still low, we're still low. We've got them in sight. Come on over. Bank, damn you. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. We've got them in line. Now we just got to get into position where we can... No. We've not got the speed up. I need to disengage and find that other one. They're probably right behind me. Yes, I'm being hit.
Right
I'm being
engine
hit.
Fire.
Oh, here we go. Oh,
Hydraulics
whoa.
failure.
And that's a blackout. That's a
Right engine
blackout.
fire. Left engine fire.
Oh,
Hydraulics failure.
as you can see, we've
Right
still got
engine
90
fire.
FPS.
Left
This is the
engine
point where
fire.
normally you'll eject.
Hydraulics
I'm going to show
failure.
you that. Wow. That's extreme. We're going to try that again because I did terribly. But pretty much all through that was mostly 90 FPS. So that's kind of cool. We're going to fly that again and we're going to see if we can improve this. So I think first lessons first, they was a lot higher than me. They had the advantage. They got in good and fast. So we need to get fast. High and fast, that's what we need.
50 miles off your nose are two aggressor F5s over the Eglin range. Practice your air combat maneuvering gun skills and using your wingman. Good luck.
I want to go for that second one there. So I want to set up to go around them. Still 90 FPS, so that's kind of cool. He's going to come in to try and circle me. I want to come in and try and circle his buddy. They're going on to my buddy there. Okay. Is he chasing? This guy's mine. I want him. Where did he go? I thought I was going to do better. I have killed these before. Where are they? There they are. Five. Four. They're coming in fast. Right, I've got to try and get in. So as they come in around, I need to find a way to maneuver to get them in the right way. Oh, here we go. That's just not quite right. There we go. Over. Right, we should be in the right way now. We should be able to follow them in. Come on. Speed up, get that speed. We got him. He's tapped. Smoke coming from his wing. We're going to make sure that he's got coming in behind him. They're gone. He's done for. Yeah, they've ejected. So that's scratch one to me. We've got this guy's 1 nautical mile off. We've got a lead in. And you can see, well, 90 FPS still.
Splash one bandit.
I need to get the speed up for turning here again. Still 1 nautical mile off. I can basically see the speck there that is him. I know you can see the writing that is on the wall. We're closing. So he's going down. That's 2. Splash 2. Right. So in combat, we are holding 90 FPS over Nevada.
Splash one bandit.
Let's get low.
Both Land as heaven splashed. You can RTB.
And there we can see our shadow on the ground. And it's desert for pretty much ever. Let's find out. Nav 1. So, return to base. Is that set as nav 1? I do not know. It's 25 nautical miles out. Even down here near the desert, we're basically, you know, it's all 90. There's not a lot of geometry down here. There is some different mountainous terrain and whatever else have you. There's a road down there. I'm not sure where the bases are around here. I haven't flown to them. I picked this up, obviously, the additional content from the Steam store sale. We've got 20 nautical miles. This should be the heading to get me to nav point 1. Can we see if we can find... I can see so far in the distance. It is very beautiful with this. Gotta love that. We're a little bit off course now. 13 nautical miles. 12,000 feet. I'm going to lose some of that height. Pick up a bit of speed. Get there quicker. Still 90 FPS. Cool, Stormy. What are you sorting? You put me on TV where I belong. Thank you. That is awesome. Okay, my nav point changed. Let's change what we've got here. So CSET, ILS. .25, that's the closest, so... Right, the landscape's starting to change a little bit. We're going to come round to a different nav point. hopefully find us a place to land out this way. I've got to go over the nav systems in the F-15 more thoroughly, but I don't think the tutorials for it are particularly that great. There we go.
Overgy.
Blacking out a bit there with the overgy. Right, was very close to the line. I need to pull these motions down to smaller. There we go. Here we go. Ah. Oh, wow. We're going to overshoot this. So there is indeed a runway. We're going to well and truly overshoot it. That's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a different way of getting ourselves onto that runway.
Bingo fuel. Bingo fuel.
You heard it. Bingo fuel. Bingo fuel, that means we have to land, and quickly. Here we go. We want our gear down. We're way off the glide slope a bit here. Still got 90 FPS. Oh, we bounced. Oh, good Lord, we bounced. Landing was a bad one. I really need to get more things there. So, anyhow, we're finishing with a nice sight of this lovely A10 Warthog, which does look rather cool and impressive. Right, so that was basically reasonably successful for me. I'm getting better, I swear. Much to learn, but yeah, it's variable on what you can get here. So I can get 90 FPS with doing some certain things. Namely, if we take a look in the options, remember my VR is set to 1.3 at the moment. That has a big effect. So if you can get more out of that, that's great. The other thing you really need to look out for is visible range. The shadows can give you a good amount of stuff. The heat blur, I'm not sure how much that affects. The MSAA, if you're at a low pixel density, doing that ×2 can have a good visual effect. And it doesn't cost much in CPU and GPU overhead. So I'd say maybe a ×2 on that will give you the detail you need there. The textures and terrain textures being high has not been a problem with the FPS side of things. As long as you've got the memory to load things in, that's kind of good. As you can see, my preload radius is all the way up because I've got a lot of RAM. It's not getting used. The clutter and grass, I've set that at 310. You could turn that lower and that's probably going to give you some FPS as well. The other thing is shadows. I set it to low because I was like, no, the flat was kind of like a little bit too, well, flat. So yeah, that is kind of awesome. Right, let's get into a different type of plane, or another type of plane, another plane, and see what we can do in FPS, because also, as much as terrain makes a difference, the type of plane you're in also makes a good bit of difference. So we're going to quit from here. That was kind of cool, apart from the landing. Oops. Right. So, if we're going to try something else out here, we're going to try another plane out and see how much of a difference that makes, because obviously, as much as a terrain and map makes a difference in how low you are and things like that, the actual plane you're in can also make quite a bit of difference. So we're going to change over from flying an F-15 to an Su-27, I think. We're going to do create fast mission. We're going to go for an Su-27, which means we are Russia, Belarus, China, Ukraine. Yes, the rain in planes does stay mainly on the plane. And hurricanes hardly ever happen in Hartford, Hereford and Hampshire. We're going to go from ramp. Go Persian Gulf again, so that I have similar things, so that my original other mission is very, very similar. We are at there. Ramp, ba ba ba, da 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 da. It's just going to be a bit of a pleasure run, this one. See what the FPS comes up in this model. I haven't tested this. So this can be more about the terrain and the plane that we're in and things like that. So if you're flying one plane dedicated, there's what you're going to do. You're going to look to get the FPS right in that one plane for as broad a spectrum as you can, or at least stable. Right, so Yeah. It is a bit crazy to review things without actually having them. We do speculate a bit. I know tomorrow I will be speculating on some things and asking opinions of what, you know, at the end of the day, some things are just merely opinions. Others you get from experience, definitely. This is certainly something we do from, you know, you have to try out and do from experience and gain experience. And there's a lot more people out there. I'm very new to this simulation business. So I'm learning my way on these and trying to find out the answers to things that are questions that I've had and seen and go, well, and there is no wave a wand and zippity zappity zoo, there you go, 90 FPS. It's a variable situation. Right, so we've got our mission. We're ready for that. We're going to fly. And I hope that everything hasn't gotten messed up control-wise, because when I did the update, I think some controls kind of changed over, but we shall soon find out. Yeah, it's messed up some of the controls. So, when I did the update, it messed up a load of controls. Basically, the flight axis, it changed. So, I need to adjust options. And we're going to come into the axis commands. And you can see that it's duplicated some stuff between here and here. So we have, there's my rudder. This is my stick, the middle one, and that is the throttle. So I'm going to clear that off. Clear that. Clear that. Clear that. I'm going to unlock my 2 sets to the thruster. And we're going to thrust with my left thruster. Push that forwards. It tells me what I've just done, which is my Joy X. Then I'm going to double click on that. Push forwards. Boom, boom. And I've got Joy Y. So now both of them, I can move them independently if I want to, but I don't want to. I'm going to lock them back in their cage. So that's going to go back in there. Now you'll notice this has midway point and then goes down and then goes across. That's not good for this type of flight simulator because it's not a space sim. If it's a space sim like Elite Dangerous, then having it do this is good because then you have completely going forwards in space and backwards on there, which is really cool. I don't want that. I'm going to have to tune the axis, and I could just click slider, tune axis, click slider, and now you can see that white line moves up and down as it should. Right. My rudder moves left and right as it should. For the pitch and the roll is on the stick. Moving down, we can see wheel brakes. If I push my toe down, I get a wheel brake on the left and I get a wheel brake on the right. So that's using the toe brakes on my rudder system. So that's the controls for that bit unbound. Hopefully everything else is going to work. So I'm just going to check some controls quickly. So power, navigation lights, canopy close, nose wheel steering, cockpit lights, dragging chute. That's handy. Landing gear up or down. And flaps landing position. And I think we also have then landing gear down, flaps up or down. Right. Think we're good. I think I can remember these. Flappy Bird. Yep. Get them flaps. Right. So this is an Su-27. It is obviously Russian design. One of the things I do like about the SUs, though, you can see the stick is kind of like off like that. But you can also see down the middle of the cockpit there is a white line. And I don't know which view you're seeing, but along the top of here, where that white line is there, that they've painted, actually lines up with the white line that is painted on the dials. So you can always tell if that's in a good place. Now, I can trim that across. So that's the stick trimmed to left. But if I want to know, hang on a second, I need to get my trim back. I can just kind of roughly line up that white line that runs along the stick with the white line that's painted down the middle, and bam, my trim is back to central trim. That's kind of cool. I always liked that about the SU planes. Right, let's power on. We need some nav lights. We'll get one of the engines started. Oh, right engine's starting. Close the canopy up. We want the flaps to be down. You can see the flaps down there. The blue lights under there means my undercarriage is basically down, which we like. We've got the landing flaps ready for takeoff. The right engine is ready, so we are going to start the left engine up. Right engine's not stabilised out fully yet. It's going to shortly. Here we go. Left engine is starting up. I hope all the nav systems are the same. So we've got our nav systems, we've got a waypoint. Okay. So, what else do we need? We've got engines are up. Those are on. Don't need exterior lighting. Oh, which one was that? I need to unlock the wheels. Oh, no, I've already unlocked the wheels. That's okay. What was it, though? I want to make sure that I don't go and... well, we can take off with those in that position. That's fine. Obviously, the sliders, the thrust sliders here on the Russian That's me having permission to go to runway 13L, but we're not going to 13L, we're going to 31R. Because 13L is too far away. So, we ain't going there. Right. Do actually have to say, I think then some of the navigation systems in the SU-27 come off as easier to use than some of the navigation systems in the F-15. A little bit more to them. Namely, the waypoints actually have heights as well as just map locations. You see, we're at 45 FPS here as well with this model. We'll see if that changes as we get off the ground. We know that with the F-15 we had some problems here on this map on the runway, on the tarmac, where it was doing sort of like 45 at different points. So we're going to give it the benefit of the doubt and see what happens when we get in the air. Okay. Right. Everybody's had their safety checks. Remember, the life jackets are under the seats. If an oxygen mask falls down, see to yourself before anybody else. And the exits are here, 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 and here. And emergency lighting will light up the floors. Good to go. Goodo. Let's do it. Okay. 200. Pulling back. Come on. Here we go. Boom. Landing gear up. We're above 200. Flaps up. It really wants to go over to the right there. We didn't trim that out quite right. Gaining height. I also like the positive negative on here. It's quite an easy gauges to read. Apart from not knowing what anything inside the cockpit says, because I don't speak Russian, like all the Russian stuff there. But we have 90 FPS. Yay! Right, let's do the same sort of flight in this that we did in the other. So we're going to head back round to the F1 track there. We're at 90, so there is the F1 track, and you can see we're kind of like mixed between the two. I think it was more solid in terms of flight there. There's a big difference between the flight dynamics of this plane. Ooh. I've selected the weapon systems. There we go. So, yeah. We've got a bit of a difference in frames there. It's not too bad. It's still a good baseline. But yeah, as soon as we've come along here, we're getting 45s again. The details are awesome, though. But yeah, it's 45. We come a little bit out of here, so we don't have the buildings. We're back to 90. We've got a much more minimal load here. Getting up to speed a lot quicker than we were in the F-15. Let's do the climb. We went up to about 12,000 feet before with the F-15. That was good space to be in. When it came to... I haven't set the dead zone for my rudder up too well. So it's being extra sensitive at the moment. But yeah, looking down, we're basically, as long as you can also look down into the cockpit and maintain that sort of 90 FPS, which we are doing, and then it's all about the scenery, really. Let's climb up a bit higher here. We're going to come out a bit more over the ocean, I think. 6,000. Let's really gain a good bit more. Okay. So we can see a good bit of distance here. We're going to gain some speed. I don't know. We're going to fly by the containers here, see if we can see all the containers growing. You can see the city now is starting to appear as well. So the bigger buildings, the taller buildings are already starting to appear. And we're still holding 90 FPS. And there we go down to 40 F5. We're going to have all the local area now is going to start coming along. Yeah, I didn't win the lottery, Stormy, so the need for greed didn't happen. We don't want the need for greed, really. We all just want to have a good time in life. Yeah, I know. We're flying low, so there's all the scenery applying in, you know. Looks amazing, but it does kill that FPS off pretty damn sharpish. We are going rather fast. Can we slow that down? We're not going there on that one. No. That's not winning any lotteries in my mind. Very much dependent on where you are in the world. It's all relative. And that's politics. So yeah, as soon as we come near the city, we're back down to 45. does look good though. It really does look so convincing in here. Visually, it really does work. Back up to 90 there. As soon as I look back towards the city, it's basically, there we go. It's you know, it's pulling that back on there. You know, I haven't done this part in a SU-27, so we're gonna try this out. I don't want to mess this up because it would look so bad. That was so awesome. But basically, yeah. You know that, obviously, I will look at what you said in a moment. I'm just going to do a little bit of stunt flying here that you should never do in real life. Right. Let's get some height above the city. Look at that for a view. 40 FPS straight away. It's stunning. We better turn over quick. Yes, I know. We're stalling. But wow. Look at that view. Yeah, I'm, you know, I'm okay where I am. There are different things that could be better, but, you know. Yeah. There are some big issues that you're talking about there, Stormy, and, you know, and they are real issues. But it's hard to place yourself in those positions when, as you point out, you're not in those positions. But it also happens just in minorities. Anywhere where you have a minority can have issues. And it's an unfortunate thing of a lot of humans, and we need to stop that kind of divide and think more of us all as one people. One of the things, like I say, it starts to go heavier and it starts to become political as well, because it's something that I see a lot at the moment. And it takes away from the fact that I have 90 FPS there, which is cool. Look down that way, and there's 45. So depending on how much structure is coming in and things like that, we're doing reasonable. But there we go. Okay. So here's basically where I'm going to end up on here. So we've got a number of different things that are definitely adding to the laggy side of this, as you can see with what I've set up here, so you can see kind of roughly what my CPU cores are doing and what the load on my GPU is with the options that I've got in here. Now, as soon as I go to the Caucasus with all those trees and stuff like that, it immediately seems to want to go to generally 45. We're going to do one more test, but so people can see, I've kind of got textures high, terrain textures high, civilian traffic low for water, visible range. Visible range is an important one. If you turn that up to high or extreme or something like that, it really does quash things. That's the bit that's determining when the buildings kind of start growing in and whatnot. So depending on how far you want to be able to see in the distance like that, that's something you got to do there. Oh, and actually, while I'm at it, just so you can see the excellent paint job on this. It's not as stable to get this. It's not as easy to get this plane nice and stable and unrolling as it is with the F-15. Right, let's see. Here we go. Hopefully, you like my paint job. I think that looks pretty damn awesome, don't you? That's the air brake. That's the rudders, making it rather unstable. You can see how quickly you can lose it just from a tiny bit of input. But how cool is that? .90 FPS throughout that. That is kind of cool. Right. That just looks so incredible. Okay. Okay, yeah. Oh. Ah, it's got rather hot, and I'm losing the plot. Fly to Mars. No, we can't. We'll fly to Mars. Well, we won't be able to do it with No Man's Sky, but we'll be able to fly to random generated places in the universe, which would be awesome. But yeah, that's pretty amazing. As you can see here, 90 FPS. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't maintain all the time, but it's not bad, and it wasn't dipping below 45. So I think, you know, I found a reasonable balance on my system here for what can be done visually to FPS and so on and so forth with performance like that. Considering I'm streaming as well, but it did mean I had to set the affinity of a lot of the programs that are running so they wouldn't run on that same CPU as the game, which is a pain in the backside, really. It would be really nice if this game could actually use more than 2 cores. It does use 2 cores. It uses one for sound, and it uses the second for the actual game engine itself, which is basically one of the biggest factors in the FPS that I can determine. Right, we're going to close that. I'm going to change some settings here because I got a new plane, and I'm just going to show you that plane quickly, and then I think we're going to end it there. Okay. So we've got new plane that I got is this Eagle 2. I haven't done much with it yet, so I don't know much about it. But see if I can get it started. Maybe. I think possibly. Right. We'll try it. I'm going to try it, but I don't know if I can actually get the thing started up properly yet. So we're going to create a fast mission. We are going to be in this Eagle 2. United Kingdom. We are going to start from ramp. Difficulty is easy. And we're going to go Nevada. Summer clear 12. Yeah. These are obviously things that can change as well. The weather will change what you're getting as FPS as well. I thought it'd take some reasonably normal sort of modes there. Now, I don't know too much about this map yet. So I don't know all of the things here. We're going to go from there, though. Let's take a look at the none. We're going to say generate a mission. Now I'm going to take a look at the edit mission so that we can see the map a little bit more. So here's the map. Beaver Dam. Hee. So there's Las Vegas. Let's put those things there. Why not? And we'll just say fly mission. We'll see what happens. See if I can actually start this thing up. But it's a nice little plane that I've got here. And we'll see if it keeps with the 90 FPS here. I'm going to at some point try and get closer to Vegas here. And we'll find out whether we can do some air shows over Vegas. That'd be really cool. But as you can see, there was some 45, so we've got 45 FPS there. And as you can see, this is not so jet fightery. This is a lot more basic. You could say basic. The trim. Which one's what? That's the propeller. So that's on fast. This needs to be out this way. We want the battery. We want the alternator, and we'll put the radio on. And then we need to pump. Fuel is on. About 3 pumps there, I think. We need to... Where's the... that's the radio volume. I need... Where is it? Canopy. Canopy's locked. There's another one that I'm looking for. There it is. We are ready. Here we go. Engine is started. I like this. We've got the propeller is there. Where's our trim? Our trim is set to, there's our midpoint for our trim. So we're still getting 45. I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna put you guys text a little bit somewhere where it's non-obtrusive to me. kind of. No. I don't need to see stuff down there anyway, so let's pull that in closer. Okay. I didn't need to see a load of the instrumentation, so this is kind of a lot more detailed. This one you can actually flip pretty much all of the switches. I know you can't see all the way down there, but if I was to show you the zoom, so you can see there's some things there. That's kind of cool. But we are still seeing this 45 FPS. I'm kind of shocked at that. That could be related to where we are on this, but we'll see. I don't know this airfield, so excuse me while we explore a little. Need to find the runway. I think it's out there somewhere. Yeah, I think it's or is it out there? It's going off to the right. Hopefully it's out over here. Fingers crossed, huh? You can see this is a very acrobatic plane, by the way, as well, because we have our acrobatic guide there. That's going to help us do some different things when you're going into climbs, so you can gauge how steep a climb you're doing and different things like that. Still 45. This looks somewhat promising. Big enough here, I can take off from here. Not the runway, but I'm going to use it as one. It's very bad of me, but who cares? We're a stunt plane. And we're in VR. We're going to go for it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Nah. That wasn't good. How not to fly this. That was deadly. We died rather quickly. That was kind of fun though. Okay. So, obviously I've got a lot to learn with that particular plane. I only just got it last night, so that I was able to start it up, I thought was a good start. but obviously not quite got the taking off and everything that needs to be set for it yet for takeoff. Just goes to show. Right. Anyhow, I hope people have liked this. I hope it's been informative in some way or another. I've still got some tuning to do with some more of this. And, where was we? I was going to go out of there, back. Yeah, so I've definitely got some things to work on there. But hopefully it gets you kind of like in some ballpark places to get 90 FPS yourself, or ways to look at getting them. Like I said, unfortunately, for me, that means that I did have to look very, very drastically at what was going on in all the CPU cores and then say, right, minimize all the other programs that are running in that last core and set their affinity so it was over a different place. And basically none of the other programs, you know, kind of clean them out of running in that final core where the main game engine's running, which is rather extreme measure. My pixel density is set at 1.3. Not the greatest. I was hoping for at least 1.4, but I found that was too much, so I had to pull it back down a bit to average out for most situations. So most fighting situations, I think, you know, you're going to get that 90 FPS, or I can get that 90 FPS for most of the time. It falls back down to 45, but doesn't really go below that. So there are some performance gains that I've managed to get and some other things that I've managed to do there, but still more work to do. Anyhow, thank you for those who are joining. Unfortunately, it looks like I may have to stop bot chat for a while, because if people are going to be silly with it, then hey, that's the way it goes. Sorry about that. But yeah, hopefully people like, subscribe, ask comments. I'll try and answer any questions I can. I'm still learning with this, and this is kind of like a bit of the whole thing of me actually learning more about DCS Worlds, the planes in it, the controls, how to get the best performance from my system, because this is not something where you're just going to immediately pick it up and it's going to just go, yeah, there you go, job's done, everything looks amazing and flies perfectly and does everything and makes you feel like a jet fighting superstar straight from the off. So it's a definite one where you have to work at it with DCS, but there are some spectacular views and such that, you know, you just I just can't express how being able to do that in VR, what it means to me personally to be able to fly in some of these aircraft in VR, because it's like, yeah, it's kind of doing stuff that just will never get the opportunity to do in real life. And that's what this whole thing in terms of VR and simulation is about. It's about doing all these different things that you can't actually do in real life, or you can't do safely in real life, or you should never do in real life. So yeah, thank you once again. Subscribe button, probably a video, and another video over there. But for me, for now, remember, you really have to turn the batteries on first to get things working.